You know, there's no way that like BET would have, you know, co-signed so many Pac interviews or, you know, stuff like that. They'd be like, all right, cool, you covered it. Let's go to something else. You know, but the ability to green light my own projects, I think, you know, is a benefit to someone who's passionate about something.
You know something? What is it about that case? Because you really have stuck with it and you've covered it from every angle imaginable. What is it about that case that really attracted you to it that you would not let up on it?
I think I found out about the story behind that case in 2007, I think. So you think it's been, what, 16 years since I've known the story behind what happened. Like as, you know, it's still, I mean, even to this day, it's still an unsolved case, right? So you're a fan. I mean, I was a big Tupac fan when I was, before even thinking about getting into the music industry, all eyes on, and then, you know, his other stuff as well, I'd always check for. So you have this high profile murder in broad, you know, in public, in Las Vegas with arguably the biggest rapper of all time to this day. And it's completely unsolved. And then in 2007, someone I knew from LA that I was just hanging out with, they kind of like told me what happened. They're like, oh yeah, you know, that person knew Orlando and he was a Crip and this is what happened and this is the story, this is the story. And I'm like, shit, like no one's been talking about this, like really. And in LA, it was like common knowledge. Like everybody knew about it. This was not some high ranking dude that was like somehow some inner circle. Nah, this was just a regular neighborhood dude that knew the story. So it just got me very intrigued in it. And so I started to kind of dig into it. And then when the Keefe confession tapes came out, the proper agreement, it was like, okay, now we actually have a person in the car who's somebody who knew Keefe personally. And with that, you know, we did our first sit down interview with him. You know, that was his first. And I think he had done something on BET before, but this was the first sit down, multi-hour life story interview about not just the event, but what led up to the actual shooting. And then what happened afterwards, and then all the affiliation about how he knows Big and he knows Puff and he was in this music video and he was, you know, and Orlando was doing this and, you know, we were at these shows and whatever else to kind of just show how all the pieces fit together. So yeah, I mean, I was basically like the whole thing and how it, you know, how it came together.
Yeah, let me ask you something. You keep using the term a proffer agreement. What exactly is that?
A proffer agreement, aka Queen for a Day. What that means is, okay. So I mean, I'll just say, instead of, you know, bringing up just like you know, a make believe situation, what happened particularly with Keefe was he was caught in what I believe was a large PCP distribution situation where he was facing life in prison. PCP is a very, you know, high end, you know, serious drug. So with the amount of PCP they caught him with his priors and everything else like that, he would have been definitely facing life in prison if convicted. So what they did, you know, the guy that was investigating, Greg Kading, essentially offered him a deal. And this is what a proffer agreement is. It meant that, okay, listen, we're going to ask you a bunch of questions about this case that's not the case that you're dealing with right now. Here's a totally other case, which we're investigating, which we feel that you're somehow involved in, which is the Tupac murder. So we're going to ask you all this stuff about the Tupac murder, and whatever you say can't then be used against you to convict you for your involvement in it. And if what you're saying proves to be true, you know, that if you're lying about a bunch of shit and we find out, you know, we could prove that you're lying, then the whole deal's off the table. But if we could prove that, you know, if we feel based on our own investigation that all this is true, then none of it could be used against you and you walk away from life in prison.
Mm-hmm.
AKA, so Queen for a Day, meaning that particular day you could say whatever. You could say, I killed all these people, I sold all these drugs, I kidnapped all these people, blah, 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 blah. Whatever it is that you say could then not be used against you in a court of law. And as long as, now if you're caught lying, then like I said, it could all be thrown out. But all that was basically the deal. He did the deal. He told them everything they asked for. And then based on what they found, they're like, okay, cool, check. You did what you're supposed to do. We're dropping all these charges. You're able to walk free. The weird part about this is that, Greg was secretly recording this. I don't think he was aware that there was a recording happening, and then publicly released some of this audio footage, and that was